The classic lat pull down is one of the best, most tried and true ways to grow your back. When we think of back training, we think of two ideas. We think of horizontal pull moves, that's gonna be any kind of row, and then we think of those gold standard vertical pull moves, that's gonna be your pull-ups, and yes, the lat pull down. This is something that everybody who goes into the gym, if you're trying to build serious back size, you wanna do this exercise. But what happens if we can't do it? What happens if you're training at home? Or what happens if you're training in a CrossFit gym where you just don't have access to a lat pull down? Thankfully, there are a couple alternatives, and these are not easy to find. We had to really scour in order to give you guys some options because it is not easy to replace the lat pull down. That classic machine that you see in every gym really is the gold standard way to pull with load and pull with the machine. If you don't have that, we can get it done, and we're gonna show you how to do that now. When we think of the classic lat pull down, we're getting a couple benefits. The two key things that we're training here, and the thing we're really trying to attack, is building our lats, and those are responsible for two functions of our upper arm. One, it's adduction, so we're going to bring our upper arm in close to our torso, and two, it's this idea of shoulder extension. So that's bringing our shoulder, bringing our upper arm behind our torso. Our lats help us do both of those moves. They do some other things too, but those are the two key ideas that no matter the grip of pull down you're using, whether we're going wide grip, whether we're going close grip, whether we're going underhand, whether we're going overhand, you're doing some variation of those two ideas, and that's what we really train with the lat pull down. So that's what we're gonna try to replicate with our exercises here. Now just remember, none of this can fully replace the lat pull down. That machine is that good and that special, but we can come really, really close as long as we're focusing on these ideas and as long as you understand in the exercises that we're gonna show you exactly what you're playing for and what you wanna feel so that you can really, really get that good contraction. So we've got 4 options for you, and each of these is going to fill the lat pull down hole in your training in a slightly different way. We're gonna start with a good option that you can also do anywhere, and we're gradually gonna progress to options that bring us more of a full range of motion and challenge us in ways that are more similar classically to the whole lat pull down. And the first option, this is your baseline option, and this is your most desperation option if you're stuck in a hotel and you need to get a little bit of lat training in. We're gonna do something that I call the seated isometric lat hold. You're gonna need 2 chairs or 2 benches or something that you can drive your elbows into, and all we're doing on this move, what we're really doing is focusing on that peak contraction. So when we talked about the functions of what our lats do and what we're trying to get out of the lat pull down, one of those functions is this idea of shoulder adduction, of bringing our upper arm, bringing our elbow near our torso. And all we're doing in this seated hold is working that peak contraction moment. You'll get, say, 2 to 3 reps of this. You're aiming to hold for 3 to 5 seconds. It winds up being a lot harder than it looks, and it places a lot more tension on your lats than you may think. In addition to that, it's actually a really, really good complementary move to any back training you're doing because we focus on that peak contraction and on that squeeze moment, which, to be honest, when people are doing lat pull downs, very often they wind up skipping or avoiding. So you're gonna get a really, really good contraction and build a really, really good mind-muscle connection here. Now, there is a downside to this isometric idea though, and that is the fact that it is literally just an isometric. So that means we're just holding that position. We're not gonna get to take our lats or any of our other back muscles through anywhere near a full range of motion, but we do get to work on that contraction and maintain that mind-muscle connection. And if you have no options, if we can't hang from anything, if we can't get our hands on a bar or a weight, then this is a great way to make sure we're getting a little bit of back work into our routine. The second option, and this one is going to seem very, very obvious, and you're going to think it's a lot more effective perhaps than it is going to be a simple seated banded lat pull down. So all we're going to do, we're going to take a looped resistance band, we're going to run it through the top of a rack or anything tall. Make sure that you trust whatever it is that's tall though, so that it doesn't break on you. And from there, we're just going to sit down. We're going to get ourselves into something very similar to a lat pull down position, and then we're going to pull down just as we would on any lat pull down. That means our core is going to stay tight. We're going to think about squeezing our shoulder blades, and we can get a little bit of back body lean with this. That way we can incorporate muscles other than our lats, and we're going to get a pretty good contraction for our back. The downside is going to be the force curve. You're going to get a pretty good squeeze at the bottom because that is when the band is most stretched. That's when it's offering us the most resistance. But at the top, you're going to feel next to nothing and that can be even worse depending on the structure that you're hanging it from. So you're not really going to get a full resistance curve. This is going to let you go through the lat pull down motion though, and it is a good start because we are going to get to work through the full range of motion even if we're not getting truly challenged through that entire range of motion. For the third option, now we're starting to get a little bit more resistance at the start of that range of motion in addition to the end of the range of motion. And we're going to start actually combining vertical pull and horizontal pull. So we're going to take a standard dumbbell row. We're going to lace a resistance band around that dumbbell and set it up, anchor it in front of us. This has instantly changed the dumbbell row in one major way. Once we pull far enough back, we have instant resistance on us at the very start of our rowing motion. That is not something that we always have on our rowing motions when we're doing standard dumbbell rows, but now we've got that resistance. That's gonna let us get a little bit more lat engagement at the very start of our row, and it's going to force us to start with that forward resistance. That resistance is going to increase as we pull back. Yes, you're getting a lot of those mid-back muscles that you're gonna get with your row, but you're also gonna get a chance to really focus on driving your elbow backwards. If you're at home, if you're working in your gym, we can start to really load this and push our lats through a large range of motion. You're still gonna catch some mid-back, there's nothing wrong with that, but now we can load, we can go into a standard, say 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps and start pushing ourselves that way. So I really, really like this move if you need a replacement for your lat pull down. And your best option to replace the lat pull down is another classic exercise. We can go to the classic pull up or chin up, and we're getting the exact same vertical pull idea that we are on the lat pull down. There are 2 issues though with that classic pull up or chin up. One, many times for people on the lat pull down, they're not strong enough to necessarily do pull-ups and chin-ups. So we want something that's going to allow us to progress to the point where we can do pull-ups and chin-ups. So we need a little bit of an adjustment there. And 2, even if you are strong enough to do pull-ups and chin-ups, often if we're on the lat pull down, we're looking to pile up volume and take ourselves a little bit farther to failure without having our entire torso or our core be the mitigating factor. And that's another reason to go to the lat pull down. So that's why we're gonna make one tweak to the pull-up or chin-up to make it more accessible and to create a situation where we can pile up volume and really feel that pump before we get to 8 to 10 reps and we just can't do anymore. How are we going to adjust that? We're going to go to a seated pull down, and you can do this either underhand or overhand. You can do this in a rack, or you can do this in a Smith machine. If you have access to a Smith machine, try for that because it's going to be a little bit more stable. You're not going to have a little bit of the rotation that happens when we're on a barbell. Either way, with the seated pull-up or chin-up, what we get to do is go through a full range of motion. We can get a good stretch on our back. We can kind of adjust the position of the machine as we need. Remember that lower is better if you're a beginner on this. Higher is a little bit better and offers you a little bit more chance to get stretch if you're a little bit more advanced on this exercise. But either way, you can still pile up volume and we can eventually start to load. As you get better at this exercise, instead of keeping your legs on the ground, you can move your legs up to a bench and we can actually place a med ball or a sandbag or some kind of load across our thighs. We're gonna get a little bit more load from that. We're gonna get to challenge ourselves, and then we can do all kinds of stuff. We can do drop sets, we can do eccentrics, we can do a lot of the different ideas that we wanna do on the lat pull down with this seated chin up or pull up. So we've given you 4 different options to replace the lat pull down, and none of these truly replace the lat pull down. It is that good of a machine, but if we combine them in smart ways, we can still get a whole ton of muscle building and we can still maintain our mind-muscle connection, maintain a lot of back strength. How are we gonna do that? What we want to do is think about taking one of those final 3 exercises, either that banded pull down, that seated chin up or pull up, or the row option. You're gonna do, say, 8 to 10 reps of that, push yourself as far as you can, and then we're gonna finish up with 1 to 2 reps of that iso hold. You wind up getting a very complete push for your lats that way. We get that really good squeeze, which again, sometimes people miss on the lat pull down period, and you're still getting to work through a large range of motion. That is all you can ask for in a lat pull down machine replacement. There is no way that you can replace the lat pull down in your gym, but we can still grow our lats if we stick with these 4 approaches.